Traders, it's Kyle from K Capital. Happy Sunday. It's the 22nd of November, about 9:33. Pretty cold in Philadelphia. Not a fan of it. Hope all is well. Let's get to the overall markets first. Heading into a short week, obviously with the holiday, Thanksgiving coming up, markets will be closed. That said, there's definitely some positive stuff going on with our alerts, which I'll get to in a minute. One thing I want to definitely go through is our two watch list stocks, ZIXI as well as OHRP. But first, let's do a quick recap on the overall market. Looking at the Dow, obviously, we've been talking about this at length, but the 200-day moving average is definitely a nice area of support for the time being. What I think we're going to see here is unfortunately a pullback, probably to the 17.6 level. Which is unfortunate, but that's really an area where the 13 EMA is going to probably serve as support. The big overall takeaway here is we want to hold the 200-day moving average before we continue higher. This is definitely a territory where I think you can go both ways. We're still in an overall macro bull trend, but, when we actually look at it, the confirmation of the exponential moving averages crossing definitely says we're in an uptrend. The flip side of that is we're seeing some strong selling pressure back at the levels we were prior to the huge retracement, which tells me that the overall market is still weak fundamentally. There's still sellers in the market across the board, and I think we're going to definitely see some pressure here to break through that 1800 level. So unfortunately, I think we're probably going to trade sideways. The major thing we want to watch out for, though, is the 200-day moving average. Do we hold that? Do we break that back down? If we do, this might just be another mini step in a long-term bear pullback to where, we're going to test 1800, but then pull the way back down and break the 200-day moving average. So that said, we're going to trade along with that. So right now, we're obviously still neutral to semi-bullish. I wouldn't say we're in full bull mode or full bear mode at this point. So keep an eye out for that. Obviously, I will keep you guys abreast to really what's going on. We can look at the Russell, we can look at the SPX, but they're going to trade in similar patterns. The Russell, the small cap index, can't break through the 200-day moving average. So for the time being, all of these small cap stocks, I think are going to trade sideways. I think we'll test 200. Hopefully we break it, but I think for the short term, it's not really something I'm too worried about. S&P 500, similar to the Dow, is using the 200-day moving average as kind of support for the next couple days, I think weeks. But again, we're seeing selling pressure through this entire level. And really what I mean by that is, if we actually went and looked, we're going to see selling pressure all through here. And if I want to zoom out to get a more broad sense of what I'm talking about here, that level here is really just filled with sellers. Now, obviously, this is made up of, some of the major large companies in the United States, but that's going to be an overall indication of what they're all trading and how they're trading. So we're seeing sellers all through here. It's not really a surprise that we saw a dip at this level once we hit that area. Again, similar to the Dow, it's whether or not the 200-day moving average holds. So that's something I'm going to be definitely watching out for. If we want to go right to our watch list, typed in the wrong ticker there. There we go. So ZIXI had a beautiful breakout last week. First thing I'm going to look at here is obviously the 200-day moving average. I want to go long. So it's above that. That's a positive. So it's something that I'm not going to be stuck in, getting caught in really just a fake breakout. So the breakout really was beautiful. I think this was last Thursday. Similar to what has happened in previous positions is once you see a huge, two large green candles, you don't want to buy at the top there. There's going to be sellers, and there's people that psychologically bought down in this level. They saw a nice gap. Then they saw a follow-up momentum play of, two large candles. You have people that are up probably 25, 30, 40% since the last 2-3 months. So obviously you're going to see sellers. So we don't want to buy at the top. So obviously I broke this down in our one watch list last week. We want to wait for the pullback. So what did it do? It pulled back. It held the exact level that we would want to go long at. Really, I just want to wait and see how this plays out. So, if we get caught buying 10, 15, 20 cents higher than when, the low here, that's fine because we're going to hold this probably for another, dollar at best. So if we want to look at the weekly, you can still see that huge selling pressure here, just kind of reflecting the highs from last week. So it's something that I think this is a nice cup and handle play. And really what that means is you have a nice cup, you're going to trade sideways, and then you're going to see a continuation. I just want to see a trade sideways, hold this pattern here, hold this price level, which is what, 546. Hold that level, we'll go long and hopefully see $6 and above, by the end of the year, hopefully sooner. So again, that's why I didn't execute Friday here. I didn't execute on the low. I want to see how this actually trades going into the holiday. Our next long is OHRP. Honestly, this stock could be gigantic. I mean, if we just look at this gap here, the reason I'm laughing is it's a really long way to fill here. You're talking almost $3 to $4 up. So the flip side is, you're seeing a nice trend up now. The EMA is consolidated. It broke out. Now it's just a matter of, are we going to break the 200-day moving average? And for the time being, that's going to be a strong selling point. And that's, again, why I didn't go long. For a day trade, that would have been pretty profitable. You would have definitely seen, an open in the 3-5 range. You could have sold it for 50 cents. We don't day trade, so it's not something or we have. It's just very, very rare. So it's, the type of situation where, again, I think this will trade sideways. The indicator, or the level, I should say, that I'm actually watching, is right in here, basically where it closed. It's actually really hard to see. Let me make this a little bigger for you guys. There we go. So that's the level I'm actually looking. The reason being is you can see multiple times. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, now 7. 7 times this has either served as support or resistance. So right now it's going to serve as support. The question is, does it hold? We need this to hold, and we need this to trade sideways before going long again. Obviously, this is a pharma stock, so this could come out with news Monday, and this could gap all the way up to 6. But right now I'm not taking that risk, because conversely, it could also come out with bad news and gap all the way down. But technically, I think this level just needs to trade sideways. And eventually, if we start to see the trend continue up like it has been, we might just take a small position, go long, and wait for the confirmation to break through the 200-day moving average, and then add a full position. And as you guys are probably well aware at this point, that's basically what we do. We add to winners. We've done that multiple times. We did it in Crown, where we got 25%, or 27%, I should say. We just did it in our short, where I think we opened up a small position and we added to it. So you want to add to your winners. It just makes logical, intuitive sense to where you don't want to be, go all in, especially in a position that has such strong resistance above this price level, at once, because it's going to sell off again at least once, if not another time. So what we would do, position sizing wise, because I get a lot of questions on this, is open a small position if this price level confirms, wait for the confirmation of the 200-day moving average to break, and then see how this trades. And I mean, if this gap fills, obviously it's pretty common sense that would be a huge winner. So, this is what I'm looking for. This is what I'm watching right now. I'm not going to get into our specific positions. I can actually break down a few real quick. So we're in SD, EMKR, Crown, ACXM, NGPI, and TTI. All but SD for the time being are up. We closed, I think, half of Crown for 27%. We're still in the next lot of shares there. But 2 that I want to talk about right now are going to be ACXM to start. So I wrote an article on Trader Planet that was published by those guys, kind of breaking down the methodology here of what we saw for this stock and why we like it. For people who have been with us for the last couple of weeks, you're well aware of what I like in this stock, and you're basically looking at it now. Is on the weekly, you can see that this stock has gotten completely destroyed since 2014. When all of the EMAs were broken and this just completely dropped, would have been a hell of a short for a 6-month period. Right now, what I'm saying is, consolidation over a year, a nice break of that. The EMA's crossed, and most importantly, we broke through the 200-day moving average. Last week, what did it do? It held that level of support. So what was resistance is now support. And hopefully what I'm expecting is just to trade sideways and then to continue up to hopefully 25, if not higher. Really this is a nice beaten down stock that I think has baseline. I think fundamentally the story's well here, and I think it's something that could potentially be a really nice play. We entered at 20, we entered at 21.50 or in that range. I'd have to go back and look at the alert. We will add again if this level holds, just because I think it can easily get to 25. So that's something I'm pretty excited about, and one that I've absolutely talked at length about, which you guys are probably annoyed because I talk about it so much, is EMKR, which I also wrote an article on Trader Planet about. Weekly, I think this is a great story. You can see that all the way back to the beginning of 2015, it's turned around very nicely once it broke through the 200-day moving average. And really, this just goes back to what we teach. So what happens? It breaks out, it runs up, you wait for the pullback, and then it goes up again. So if similar to this, what we did, broke through, had a nice large candle, we waited for the pullback, we went long, I think, right around 7, I think. And now we're seeing a continuation higher. So if we want to look at the daily here, it's funny because this thing keeps testing this breakout point, and it's just for some reason there's a seller that I think won't go away. So let me break out here. What you can see is it's not clean. What I mean by that is it's not, you can saw some long tails going above these points, but you can see a general pattern here is where this basically, you saw a seller all the way down here. It broke out, and now we're seeing it trade along the 13 exponential moving average. And what I'm hoping is for really just a continuation to follow, these EMAs all the way up. And really what you can see is when it does that, it will follow the actual EMA and then blow up. And you can see a nice gap between the price and the 13 EMA. Did that here and it did it here. What I'm expecting is that same thing to happen where you'll trade along the EMA and then it will just blow up to 8. So this is something I'm excited about. I think fundamentally, I've done the research here. These guys have great fundamental earnings. They have a great P&L. They have really nice margins. I don't see much debt, although I haven't really dove into their balance sheet. I probably should do that, so maybe I'll just put that down as a action item on my end to go look at. But so those are 2 stocks we're looking at and 2 stocks we're in. Like I said, I'm not going to break down the rest of the positions, but they will be on the dashboard. So if you have any questions, Kyle Matthew at kcapitaladvisors.com. Please shoot me an email or kcapitaladvisors@gmail.com. So hope all is well. If you have any questions, please reach out. Happy to help. Hope all is well. See you guys.